Hi, I'm Guy Lodge, film critic in contention at Hitfix, finally counting down my top 10 films of 2012. Awards bait is all around us, but many of my favourites this year, whether on the festival circuit or from the studios, came from less expected sources. My first instinct is to say it's been an interesting year rather than a great one, but as my long list for this top 10 swelled to over 30 titles, I was forced to reconsider. It was agony cutting it down, but here are the 10 left standing.
Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all? Snow White.
What? Snow White.
At number 10, we kick things off with the fluffiest film on the list, Tarsem Singh's Mirror Mirror. Fairy tales are the new comic books in Hollywood, and this isn't necessarily great news. But Tarsem's sweetly silly spin on Snow White, the lightest and loveliest of 3 released this year, dodges the snarky pitfalls of Shrek generation revisionism. Its tongue is firmly in its cheek, and Julia Roberts is more Beverly Hills diva than Wicked Queen, but Tarsem remains one of the industry's most extravagant fantasists, and he's conjured some genuine child's eye magic here.
Who are you?
Snow White.
Snow who? Snow Way!
Unser Führer ist Todloche.
Ist ins Gefängnis.
Changing the tone a bit at number 9, we have Laura, the long-awaited second feature from Somersault director Kate Shortland, and Australia's submission for the Foreign Language Oscar. Many may groan at the words Holocaust film, expecting granola-flavoured awards bait, but this bracing, sensual coming-of-age story daringly subverts expectations by adopting the perspective of a brainwashed Nazi teenager, struggling to make sense of her world in the dying days of World War II. Shortland offers no easy redemption or simple sympathies, trusting her audience to draw their own moral lines. If not seen with new eyes, this is history felt with fresh skin.
Hi.
Hi.
Daniel, this is Lou. He's our neighbor.
Welcome to the neighborhood. Should we start walking?
Hey, hop in. I'll give you a ride.
Oh, no.
Are you serious? I've always wanted to ride in one of these.
We continue at number 8 with another second feature from a vibrant female filmmaker, Sarah Polley's messy, sexy, excitingly divisive Take This Waltz. Smartly dissecting the breakdown of a seemingly ideal marriage with even-handed warmth and an unexpectedly day-glow palette, its relationship drama is expressive and sweat-stained as Away From Her was subtle and snowbound, refreshingly adult as it admits to the often unreasonable nature of human desire. Michelle Williams and a revelatory Seth Rogen are superb in what one might call an electric blue Valentine, and you'll never hear 80s novelty hit Video Killed the Radio Star quite the same way again.
Ça va?
Je veux me marier avec toi.
T'as dit quoi?
At number 7, a more sombre study of a household in crisis, Belgian director Joachim Lafosse's devastating Our Children. Inspired by a true-life case, this emotional body blow of film tells the story of a young wife and mother driven to the unthinkable by a combination of postpartum depression and less diagnosable domestic oppression. Beginning at the unspeakable end, Lafosse builds the unforgiving tension of a thriller as he traces a tragic family history from the flush of first love. Emily Dequesne may deliver the performance of the year as a woman watching all psychological escape routes close before her eyes. It demands to be seen, but maybe not on a first date.
Mais
qu'est-ce que t'as fait?
Hey, you! Give me my things back!
T'as dit qu'il n'y avait aucun risque en haut, ça craignait rien.
At number 6, Ursula Meyer's Sister, which surprised and beguiled me at the Berlinale way back in February, and has a staying power that belies its modest form. In a strong year for child performers, no young newcomer made a brighter impression than Casey Mottet-Klein, as the modern-day Artful Dodger anchoring the sharp, spry, sneakily moving study of working-class survival on the moneyed ski slopes of Switzerland. The title is a cryptic clue as to the unconventional family at the story's heart, while no fine detail of class escapes the camera's gorgeously lit gaze. Some critics have labelled it Dardenne Brothers Light, but this gem rivals their best work.
So how do you know my brother?
He's on my roof and curb. I'm an entrepreneur, though. I manage a few businesses.
Sure, cool.
Many of the year's best studio releases sounded pretty disposable on paper, and none more so than my number 5 choice, Magic Mike. Even with Steven Soderbergh's name attached, a male stripper comedy starring Channing Tatum and Alex Pettyfer promise little more than caramelized man candy, but that's reckoning without the keen social and sexual politics of Reed Carolyn's script, Soderbergh's briskest, breeziest direction in ages, and one of the year's most complete ensembles, with Tatum cementing his unexpected emergence this year as a real-deal movie star. The film may delve under the over-bronzed skin of contemporary masculinity, but if the skin's all you're here for, you won't be disappointed either.
It's beautiful, and the big collaboration begins.
My number 4 choice, Peter Strickland's ingenious meta-horror film Berberian Sound Studio, is a festival underdog. It quietly premiered at Edinburgh after allegedly being turned down by certain European majors. You have to question some programmers' cinematic savvy, since this is one of the richest, most inventive movies about the movies in recent memory. Toby Jones is on career-best form as a meek British sound engineer hired to work in a Z-grade Italian horror movie, only to find his mind swiftly consumed by the film, or possibly the other way around. It's ostensibly an homage to the likes of Dario Argento, but everyone from Hitchcock to Antonioni to David Lynch can be glimpsed in Strickland's celluloid Hall of Mirrors.
De retour dans la maison de la famille normale, j'aide à nouveau Rafa.
Hey! Surtout vous inciter à vous exprimer, à raconter des histoires.
My number 3 pick, Francois Ozon's In the House, is a film I haven't discussed much here at In Contention, partly because it doesn't hit theatres until next year, and partly because I hadn't realised until compiling this list just how far this brilliantly clever comedy of manners had crept under my skin. It is, first and foremost, a story about storytelling, as a bored school teacher becomes complicit in a precocious pupil's voyeuristic homework essays. As the boy's salacious tales, viewed through alternating eyes, gradually move to the centre of this spiderweb narrative, the psychosexual stakes increase and fictional boundaries blur. It's equal parts Hitchcockian thriller, French bedroom farce, and dizzying literary brain teaser, and it might well be Ozon's best film.
There will be people on the outside who will not understand the condition you men have. Now, upon your shoulders rests the responsibility of a post-war world.
And smile.
At number 2, Paul Thomas Anderson's The Master entered 2012 as my most anticipated film of the year, and leaves it as my most debated, whether with friends, colleagues, or even myself. Anderson's exquisitely elliptical film has been interpreted by some as a meditation on man's animalistic nature, and by others as the latest chapter in the filmmaker's ongoing study of father-son power struggles. It may well be both those things, but for me The Master is the year's most complex love story, as Joaquin Phoenix and Philip Seymour Hoffman perform a brilliant pas de deux as two men undone by mutual need and fascination. Which one is The Master? Is it someone else entirely? I look forward to changing my mind across multiple return visits.
Diga, Santa. A Dona Aurora ligou de Estoril. Perdeu tudo. Minha querida Pilar, esta vez não teve nada a ver com as outras. Foi de sonho. De sonho.
If my runner-up arrived in a cloud of anticipation, my number 1 dropped out of clear blue sky. Portuguese auteur Miguel Gomez's Taboo. 10 months after its Berlin premiere, this unclassifiable blend of contemporary absurdist comedy, swooning colonial-era romance, and cinephile bingo game still feels like something of a mirage, too beautiful to be entirely real. In modern-day Lisbon, a dying elderly woman reflects on her steamy extramarital affair in an unnamed African country half a century ago, but no description of the plot conveys the reach and resonance of Gomez's vision, which incorporates everything from silent cinema to Phil Spector. It's a love letter to the movies, but also to love itself, and it's my favourite film of 2012.
Why cry into my lonely? Why lonely one?
For breaking entertainment news and more, follow @HitFix on Twitter or visit hitfix.com.